Well, hello, loves, and welcome back to another Sunday Inspiration. So today started with collage paper making. I didn't know what to do, and I just decided to grab some paper and throw down some watercolor. And creativity starts with one step at a time, and let it lead you wherever it goes. Even when I didn't know what to do, and I was feeling particularly sad this day. And I knew I needed to do something here because I get lost here. I can forget, or I can cry, or I can say words with my paint that I can't say. It all is, rolling around inside me as I step to the table. And so I just continued to make paper until the tears had stopped, and I felt some spark of creativity. And that's what I mean by stepping up to the table and doing something. It doesn't have to be good, and you don't even have to be joyful when you step up to the table. But stepping up to the table does something. It shifts something in our brain and allows us to express in a way that we can't with our words. So you can see all the collage paper that I did. I just went to town, and then I got excited. I felt a little spark of something within me, and I allowed it to lead me, in another small journal page for Molly, where I can have a conversation with myself and with her, and do the thing that I love to do the most. And while grief really never goes, we end up surrounding it with the things that bring us joy. And that's what I do every time I step up to the table these days. And I'm sharing that with you today. But look at these papers. I was so pleased with how they turned out. It gave me so much joy. I just loved it. I love paper. So I'm going to show you how I did. They're super, super easy. And I used copy paper and I used tissue paper. And the first one, this is how I started. I just, maybe because I was sad and angry or whatever, but I just crumpled up a bunch of paper and wet it and then crumpled it up again a couple of times, and then put it out onto a piece of parchment paper and grabbed my watercolors. And thank you, Molly, for reigniting my love and joy for watercolor. These are Gansai Tabi watercolors. It's the graphite colors, so pretty. But when you wrinkle up that paper, it creates these little, like crack effect, and it's so pretty. And I could have honestly made paper all day. I need more paper, like I need a hole in the head. But it's what makes me happy, so right now, I'm going to do it. So I'm just covering the whole sheet with, you could do it all one color. I like having a little bit of variety of color, and you can get really, really creative. You can do circles and stripes and fill the whole page with stripes, and yeah, you could be really creative. But you see how pretty that turned out? Oh, so gorgeous. And when you put it down, it gives you a little added texture too. So this is just a piece of copy paper. I wet it, and I'm going to put down some color. And I am not thinking about color, really. I'm thinking about blues and greens because I'm thinking of Molly, but any color will do. And again, I like mixing the color. It gives some variation, some lights and some darks. And I want to push that down into the wet, and then I'm going to come back over it with a little bit more watercolor to get into the grooves. And then I just put everything on the floor and let it dry. And you can do them lighter or darker, whichever, I did this one pretty dark, but you can see all of these collage paper. This is exactly how I did all of them. I put my color down, I put my stencil in, I put more watercolor over the stencil, and then let it dry. And I do the same thing with now this is medical exam paper. I think I said tissue paper, but medical exam paper. It's a little bit stronger. It's cheaper than wet strength tissue paper. So that's why I'm liking the medical exam paper. But again, I wet it, and then I'm just putting my colors down. And really, honestly, you could leave it just like this. See how the parchment paper wrinkles up as soon as it gets wet? And it creates this wonderful pattern. You could leave it dry just like this, and it would be beautiful. I'm pushing out some of those air bubbles and some of those wrinkles and pushing my stencil in. I want to make sure it makes contact. And then again, I'm coming back over, and this is on the tissue paper. So same technique, whether it be copy paper or tissue paper. The patterns on the tissue paper tend to dry lighter. So I went a little heavier on my watercolor. Again, I've got some more medical exam paper out here, and I'm putting down some color, going greens here because I want to use my leaf masks. So I've got some teal and green color. And again, every time I wet the tissue paper, I get the pattern underneath from the parchment paper is so beautiful just as it is. But for my masks, I just lay my masks down and really make sure. And you can tell when they're making contact because they darken up a little bit. But if you put a little bit more watercolor over the top, you're pushing it down into the wet medical exam paper, and you're adding additional color so that you get a good outline. So I've got all my collage paper made, and I selected just a few neutral pieces for my background. These were in my stash. I've been working on trying to clean things. That's the other thing I do when I'm not sure what to do. I just clean and organize things. Now I can't find anything. But I just grabbed these from the stash and putting my neutral collage papers down for a background. Because I knew I was going to use my colored collage paper for something on my page. I wasn't sure yet, and so that's why I went with the neutral. And just scraps. You can see this piece. They're all just scraps. And just putting those down with fluid matte medium. And I could have used matte gel as well. For my initial papers, I like using fluid matte medium because it goes on fast and dries fast. Now I'm cutting out just random circles, not perfect circles. Nothing that I'm doing right now has anything to do with perfection. It's a sheer act of will sometimes to just be here. Once I get here, then I'm all in. But getting here, I can talk myself out of being here really fast. I can be, sad and grief-filled and not think that I have anything to offer to the page, but that's not true. Anything that I do is a worthy offering to my creativity, to Molly, to this journal that I'm putting together. So I cut out my circles from my lovely collage paper that I'm just in love with. I could just be surrounded by collage paper and it would make me happier. So I cut those out and then and I didn't use the full circle, so the little scrap ends I put on the ends of the journal page. Now I'm using matte gel because I can control it more, and because some of the papers might be a little bit heavier, the copy paper or whatever, but also to keep some of the wrinkles out because I know I want to do some drawing on top of the circles. So the matte gel really helps keep the wrinkles away. So I'll put all of my circles down with my matte gel, including my tissue paper or my medical exam paper ones. once I've got those down now, I've just got a mixture of a caramel, a Titan buff, and a tiny bit of gesso, kind of going back and forth, having some lighter light and some little darker light. I want to push back some of that paper, just a tiny bit. I didn't really need to do too much, but I kind of wanted to blend it all together and soften some of the weird, maybe some of the weird edges of my circles and that kind of thing. But this is just a watered down mixture of those three colors. I got that dry, and now I pulled out every pen that I had, because I don't use my pens very often. And so some were dead and just no reviving. And I'd gotten some new ones too. I got some Artistro black and white pens, and they're pretty phenomenal. We'll see how they last, because every white pen that I get, at first they're great, but then they die really fast. So we'll see. I've got my Sharpie fine tip markers. I tried a Posca pen. That one was dead. And then Graby. Graby has some really great colored pens and white pens. And so far, they have really lasted well. I've been surprised because they're not very expensive. So this is like a felt tip brush pen. So we'll see if it dries or clogs or whatever. But this one's the Gravy that I'm using. But the other ones, the other colored Artist Pro, are more of a felt tip pen. So I'm going to make patterns all the way around. This is the beauty of how I'm creating right now, is that this is mindless. I can be here, I can have music on, I can pray, I can talk to Molly, I can do all of the things that I'm doing without a thought, without any, hesitation whatsoever. I'm just here, and I'm doing whatever, feels right next. Whatever pattern, whatever it is that I'm going to put down. So I'm going to go around all of my circles and give them a little love and a little spark of creativity with my pens. I'm going to outline each one with a really kind of reckless line, just messy, curvy. Instead of doing charcoal pencil, I decided to stay with my pen look. I will add some soft pastel pencil here in a minute. I couldn't resist. That's just in my DNA, I think. But I'm just going to outline them all my circles in black. And then again, I'm going until I feel like I don't have anything else to do or say in my head or whatever it might be. I could probably have filled up the page, if I needed to, filled up this page with doodles. And do what's easy for you in a time where you're having a hard time creating. Whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be anything good. Just do it. It's good for you. It's good for your soul. So I've just, again, got my black Sharpie pen out, and I'm just doing my doodles. I'm adding some things that look like stitch marks because they remind me of Molly. Molly put patches on everything, and I think I've said this to you before. She would sew patches and sew different things and do needlework and all kinds of stuff. So it just made me happy. So I've got a piece of one of my collage paper, and I am writing out learning to breathe. And one of the things you can do to get a center is find your center on your piece of paper and write in the word that is in the center, and then write backwards. So I wrote it out on a piece of paper, found the center on this piece of paper, and then wrote backwards to get it to be perfectly centered on that. I've got a little bit of matte gel that I'm putting down my tissue paper and my words. And now I've got some soft pastel pencil. And I'm going to do some shading. And this is in like a raw umber color. I'm doing so many things different right now just because everything feels different within me and around me. And just follow that lead if that's where you're at, and you're feeling stuck. Do something different, but make it easy. So I'll go all the way around, just adding my shading with my brown soft pastel pencil. So I got all the shading done, and now I'm putting some stitch marks around my little patch in the middle. And I love this page. I love the process to it. And that's something that I am enjoying right now, just showing up and not knowing where things are going to go, not having any ideas and just being here. And that's all I can do. And sometimes that's all we can do in times where we are stuck or hurting or overwhelmed or life feels heavy. Just show up and do something. make it bad, even if it needs to be. I got all my shading done around the edges with my black soft pastel stick, and I'm adding a few highlights. All right, my loves, I hope that you enjoyed the process. I did. It was a process, and I hope that you show up for you today as well. And I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.